Hello, this is Ellen Butler, and I write the Karina Cardinal Mystery Series. When you walk the halls of power, make sure your wits and stilettos are razor sharp. You are listening to the Dark and Stormy Book Club podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Dark and Stormy Book Club. Today we have another patron spotlight. We talk with Tame Prince. Enjoy.
I'm Ann Dart.
I'm Tracy Stormy.
And I'm Kathy Knight.
And together we are
It Was a Dark and Stormy Book Club,
a podcast for mystery lovers.
Welcome.
If you enjoy our show, please consider contributing to the Dark and Stormy Patreon. By becoming a patron, you will help us create better and quality content. There are also benefits to becoming a patron, such as exclusive content and Dark and Stormy merchandise. Become a supporter at patreon.com/darkandstormybc. Check our website for the link. We appreciate any and all contributions. Thank you.
This recording was done in a coffee shop, and so the sound quality will not be quite as good as some of our other episodes. I apologize. I hope you enjoy the podcast anyway. We would like to welcome to the program Tame Prince. She is one of our fantastic patrons. We have been looking forward to talking to her. Welcome, Tammy.
Hi. Tammy, first off, we want to thank you wholeheartedly for loyal patronage. We are so thankful.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a great podcast.
Thank you.
You wanted to talk about your favorite author, Charles Todd.
Yes.
Okay. The floor is yours.
I guess I kind of stumbled into Charles Todd, I want to say about probably 10 years ago. I think I was in Barnes & Noble time. I was just looking through all the mystery books and thought that, it might be interesting because I do love mysteries. Did I pick up? It actually wasn't the first one, which was A Test of Will. I think that the first book I actually picked up, it was actually A Treachery, which it looks like that's the seventh book.
Is that Ian Rutledge?
That was Ian Rutledge. I actually didn't even know about other series that he had until Full Treachery literally just fell in love with Ian Rutledge and who he was. So then I kind of went forward for a little bit, read and listened to all of the books up until, I think it was like Hunted Shadows. Then I went back and started at the first book and moved my way forward. I think the thing I really loved about it, first of all, was gentleman that had just come back, or one had what they call shell shock, but it really was PTSD, and I suffered from PTSD, so that really caught my attention. And just how he really had this desire to be a voice for child loss, and just how he went about his investigations, his way of thinking, and then of course Hamish, which is living in his mind, in his memory, and kind of being that sixth sense that sometimes is working with him, sometimes is working kind of against him, and how he navigates through to solve his cases, but also starting to learn more about himself. It was just, the whole thing was fascinating, how he was able to go through an investigation, but yet still struggle on a mental health aspect. And so it was just fascinating.
Have you read any of the Bess Crawford books?
Not yet. I just, about 3 years ago, I learned about Bess Crawford, and they're on my reader to read, but right now I have 3 jobs, and so I'm trying to read in between when I can, and so that is definitely on my radar to get involved in.
Oh my goodness, you are a very busy woman. I imagine that reading gives you a chance to kind of stay a little sane with that kind of schedule.
Yes, it does. And it kind of takes me away from, what I'm currently doing. I'm a medical doctor, and I also work for hospice and palliative care. So I have like I said, I have 3 jobs, and so reading, reading in itself just takes me away from what is going on. But then also just delving into the history of what it meant to go through the war, the places that he has been to and everything. It's just pictorial image. It's just really fascinating. And then the secondary character, they're very rich, engaging.
Can I ask you from your experience, and I'm sorry to hear that you suffer with PTSD, do you feel that Charles Todd gets it right in the way that they write about it?
I think that he does. Or they do. I think that it was, for me, extremely obvious just from a clinical standpoint, and then just that Ian Rutledge goes through a lot of the challenges that he faces and a lot of the introspection that he has, and just a lot of the shame that he feels about, what is surrounding that diagnosis. It's very real. I so appreciated that because it made PTSD for me something that could be shared and be okay and be a functioning individual that has a successful career and still struggle. He made it look like normal. I mean, and it is normal, but it's difficult to struggle with, to see it's like, I don't feel like doing things right. I feel like I'm
A little bit of therapy
Mhm.
in addition to all the other benefits of reading.
Yes.
That's wonderful. I'm glad that you found an outlet.
Were you in the military?
No, I wish, but I have some family members that have been in the military, but they didn't see the type of action that he did. That, again, another fascinating piece of what he experienced, the acquaintances that he made, talking to afterwards. It's just having that aspect afterwards and post-war is very unique.
Now, have you ever listened to our episode where we talked to Charles and Carolyn?
No, I hear a little bit of it, but it's been a while back, so I don't know all the particulars. I remember listening to a bit of it.
You ought to listen to it. Caroline was such a wonderful woman, and she, of course, just passed away this year.
Last year.
Last year. I mean, I follow them on Facebook and on Instagram. There'll be like sound bites and other types of things. I would participate in like the Poison Pen bookstore. When they would do interviews through the Poison Pen bookstore, I would listen in on those. I just love the research that they do, the places that they go, their writing style. To me, it's just seamless. You don't know which one is writing what. It just comes together. I actually didn't know it was a mother-son team, so I don't know why. I didn't actually read any of the chapters. I just read the books, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited. And it was only like 2 years in that I realized, oh, wait a minute, there are actually 2 people writing.
It's incredible, isn't it? Cannot tell. And they speak about that in our interview.
They worked together flawlessly.
It was so flawless. I mean, I read other genres and other books, and one thing that I don't like about certain books is like when there is dual authorship, you can tell there's a clear break. Sometimes it just throws me off. I don't necessarily know if I like this duality, but they really made it so seamless. I mean, their research, the way they dialogue.
They definitely had a great working partnership.
Yes.
When we met Carolyn at Malice Domestic Book Conference in Bethesda, Maryland in 2019. Unfortunately, Charles wasn't at that particular conference, but we got to meet her and we talk about it in the interview. She was on a panel with like 4 or 5 other authors, and the moderator asked each of them to speak about their protagonist in the first person, as if the author was their protagonist. And they all, they gamely did a little spiel about their protagonist, but when Carolyn started talking in first person about Ian, and then as Bess Crawford, it was mesmerizing. It was just an incredible performance. We talked about that in our interview as well, and I tried to look today to try to find that video archive. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it, but if you can ever find that, or maybe we'll share it if we are able to find it, because it really was truly fascinating, and it's worth seeing, definitely.
Well, I definitely want to see that. And I also, well, I still need to look for the one. I know that they've done interviews about Bess Crawford and that series. See if I can find a soundbite of either one of them, reading like passages and stuff, because that's kind of how I get involved in certain novels is if I can hear the author, somebody actually reading it and going, gosh, this is something I would really enjoy listening to or reading or something. Because, I spend a lot of time driving as well. And so, I've downloaded on Audible and Kobo books. Sometimes I have different copies on the same ones. I mean, it's just, I'll listen to them over and over.
We listen to a lot of books on audio as well, and it's a very convenient way to get your reading in.
Well, it does. Yes, it is. Especially if I am doing it at night, whether it's I'm listening to it when I'm working on charts. And then, of course, I've got favorite narrators as well, and I know that they had some narrators and then, they retired. Now they have a new one, Simon Vance, and I really love him. The last couple books that he's done with Rutledge, I don't know if he's read the Bess Crawford or if they have a different narrator. I just love listening to the books too, as well as, when you have your favorite authors and you have your favorite detective and you have your favorite, sometimes it's difficult to break out of that.
Oh, I know. Trust me.
Yes, we know that very well.
And so sometimes I'm going, I think part of the hesitation with Bess Crawford is not so much that, I don't want to. It's that, oh my goodness, I don't want to necessarily think that it's different in some way. And what if I don't like her as much? I don't know. It's just try a different series when I love one so much. Sometimes, not with them, but there are other authors where you try a new series of things. It's different enough to where you're going, I don't know. But I've heard such good things about this that I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to dive in.
They are really good. Do you like about the podcast? Is there anything particular that you could put your finger on?
I like that there are various authors. There are authors that honestly I probably would not have heard about. I'm not as immersed in book reviews like I used to be. When I was in college, I used to go to different book, different stores in Pasadena, California. And I used to attend all kinds of meetings, things that I do book reviews. I would know a lot of authors. Then as time's gone on, I lost track. What I really like about your guys' podcast is it's no author is too big or too small. There's a really nice mixture. I think that there's some authors that I'm going, my gosh, I never even thought about that. Or there's some authors that are popular that I didn't even hear about. Then I'm like, oh, they're associated with this series. And then I go and I'm like, oh, this book is on BBC, or I didn't realize. And so then I go and get that book and I'm coming through it going, wow, I would not have even known anything about this if it hadn't been for the podcast.
Honestly, that's how we feel too. When we come across some completely unknown author, we're just thrilled.
That's really how we started this, because there's so many authors that we just never heard of before, and we never would have picked up their book. But boy,
exactly.
Some of them are fantastic.
Some of them are fantastic. It's nice to have the authors that you know and love that are mystery, thriller. They bring out good works, but I do want to know about the other ones. And if I get them and I'm able to read them and I'm able to read reviews on whether it's Amazon, Kobo, or books and all this, if I'm able to read reviews, and I have a blog that I've had, yes, it's been 16 years that I've had this blog, and I mean, I've got enough a few various people that when I post about a book that I either read or I heard of or an author, something like that, suddenly I have people that are, and I made it to my Instagram, I have people that are like, I've never read this. I've never heard of this. I've never even heard of this author. Thank you. And I'm like, well, thank you. Because it's just, I want people reading. I want dialogue. I want that kind of spark of joy that I think people get when they find something good and they read it, or they find something that may not have been something on their radar and they still get it. They still read it and they're like, oh, okay, or that sparks some kind of response out of me. And I think that's good too. So I like that. I listen to other podcasts too. I mean, I listen about finance. I listen about, self-growth and all these other kinds of things. And there are some of them that I'm going, oh my goodness, they just went on and on and on about, it was like unipolar.
Yeah.
And you guys are not unipolar. There is dialogue that goes on. And I think a lot of podcasts is it becomes so unipolar that you're literally like, my gosh, I might as well be reading their book, or I might as well just be talking to myself, because there really isn't anything going on but somebody just talking. And then it's over, and then that's it. I think it's good what you guys are doing.
Is there anything you'd like to see more of?
This I think has more to do with Patreon than the podcast, but the questions that you guys have at the end and stuff.
Oh, the trivia?
The trivia. Can you do a little more of that? Or maybe like different, I figured one question a week, maybe. I don't know. I like questions, but it sparks me to go start looking for things.
That's good to know that people are listening to when I go through Wikipedia looking up.
Yes, because Ian is the creator of the trivia questions. Doesn't find these trivia questions online. She makes them herself. Mm-hmm. So it's good to know you appreciate her, because we
yes, I seriously do, because then I'll get the response and I'll the next week I'll go, that's really cool, and then there'll be like another question like, oh, but can there be like a couple of another question or something? I mean, I don't want to stress anybody out or anything, but I read those and I like that.
Maybe we can start something like a theme, like question about a mystery genre or something.
Yes.
For
something
like that. And then go on to another one or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll have to work on that.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah, workshop. But no, I think that's a really good idea.
So you said you have a blog. Would you like to share your blog with our listeners so they can follow you as well?
Sure, if they want to. It's basically a lot of things, but it's actually darktame75.com. So it's DARKTAME75.com. And it's WordPress. So,
okay, great. Definitely look for that.
Well, Tammy, thank you for being a patron. Thank you for being a listener. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us. We appreciate you. You make our day when we hear we have another patron.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Take care, Tammy. In honor of Tame Prince, we are back with trivia. Our first question of this session is, the author Patricia Highsmith once attended a cocktail party carrying a very large purse. What was in it? A change of clothing. B, her latest manuscript. C, her cat. Or D, 100 snails and a head of lettuce. Tune in next week for the answer. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. I apologize again for the sound quality of that, but it couldn't be helped. We hope you'll join us next week with another episode. And remember,
Life would be boring without a little mystery. Bye.